From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I am Sweeney Gray. The death toll from the tsunami that hit Indonesia's Sunda Strait on Saturday has risen to 281 as hope of finding more survivors fades. Indonesian officials have confirmed the tsunami was triggered by the collapse of the Anak Krakatau volcano, contrary to earlier reports that it was caused by an earthquake. Hundreds of people are still missing and thousands have been left homeless after the tsunami damaged over 600 homes and 400 vessels. Indonesian President Joko Widodo has warned residents of the affected areas to stay alert after experts warned that more waves could hit the area.
Everybody has to be careful and stay alert. We are still evacuating the dead and taking care of those injured, those who are at health clinics and at hospitals.
Meanwhile, local authorities have dispatched heavy machinery to help in the search and rescue efforts. Nonetheless, workers and ambulances are finding it difficult to reach affected areas as heavy debris from damaged homes, overturned cars and fallen trees has hampered accessibility.
I was at home watching television at the time when I heard a rumbling sound and I thought it was the wind. When I opened the door, water came in quickly and dragged me out. When I saw outside the sea was receding, I decided to run as the water came again for the second time.
I feel traumatized. Last night, we were getting our diesel supplies when suddenly a huge wave came and we all started running with all of our family members.
The body of Jakelin Caal has been returned to her home country of Guatemala. The 7-year-old girl died earlier this month under the custody of U.S. Border Patrol agents. Jakelin and her father were part of a group of migrants who handed themselves over to the authorities after walking to the U.S.-Mexico border. While in custody, young Jakelin developed a high fever. She died 2 days later. Her body arrived to the village of San Antonio Secortez early on Monday, where relatives are expected to hold her funeral.
From the moment Border Patrol notified the consulate of the death, Consul Tekandi Panuagua came to the area, asking for the father to accompany him to complete all investigative processes. A form was filled out in which the parents asked for the repatriation of the body. A death certificate was issued after the autopsy, and at that moment a flight was sought and the repatriation to Guatemala was done as quickly as possible.
The United States government has gone into partial shutdown after Republican and Democrat lawmakers failed to reach a budget agreement. Our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Alina Duarte, explains.
Early this Saturday, a partial shutdown of the U.S. government began. This shutdown affects 1/4 of the federal agencies, and it has been prompted by the fact that there was no agreement for the approval of the federal budget for 2019. The House of Representatives approved the budget, but the Senate didn't. We should recall that from January the 3rd, Democrats will also gain control of the House of Representatives, which will make an agreement on this budget even more difficult. The confrontation comes from Donald Trump's request to expand a wall on the U.S.-Mexican border. Now, the Trump administration has also suffered a new setback regarding its immigration policy, as on Friday a court rejected the proposal made by Trump to ban asylum requests for those migrants who cross with no documents at the southern border. This order was aimed at responding to the migrant caravan arriving at the border between Mexico and the U.S. The court decision was made with 5 votes against 4, thanks to a decision made by one of the conservative judges to join the liberal ones.
And the U.S. President has announced that Patrick Shanahan will be the new acting Secretary of Defense from January 1st. Shanahan is the former Deputy Secretary of Defense. He will replace Jim Mattis, who was expected to leave in February. Mattis announced his resignation last Thursday after President Trump decided to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria. Migrants stranded in the border city of Tijuana in Mexico got treated to a special Christmas lunch courtesy a group of chefs. The traditional meals were served at an event called Paella Without Borders. The event was organized by Armando Rudiel, a San Diego-based Spanish chef. The traditional Spanish dish tantalized taste buds, and hundreds of migrants queued to get their hearty helping.
Well, we are here waiting to try out the famous paella, and we are grateful, too, for the people that are coming here to support us, to make us this food that they came here to make. We are very grateful.
There aren't first or second class migrants here. We're all migrants, or we have been at some time. We're here to make our voice heard, and what better way to do it than with paella, which symbolizes liberty, fellowship, unity, and fraternity, and above all, happiness.
And thousands of children in Venezuela have received presents through the 2018 Christmas celebration plan. So let's find out more about it in this report.
The magic of Christmas has arrived at this area, located in the northwest of Caracas. A government delegation came here to put a smile on children's faces by handing out presents.
It's wonderful, especially for children, after what they have been through. But I know that our president, Nicolás Maduro, is doing everything he can so more children can benefit across Venezuela.
The Venezuelan government has been on a mission to ensure that every child gets gifts this Christmas.
They realize that this Christmas is not like the one you see on media, where children didn't receive anything. On the other hand, children have enjoyed Christmas celebrations.
The children were overjoyed to get their gifts before Christmas Eve.
The 24th will be the day Jesus was born, and children will be much more happier. They express happiness. We feel satisfied to see the joy of our children. That is the best thing for us. And all thanks to God and to our president, Nicolás Maduro.
Despite the economic crunch largely imposed by the US and EU sanctions, Christmas here will continue and be celebrated.
Thank you, President. You are a humble man. Thank you for giving gifts to all the children of our country, despite the difficulties, despite the criminal blockade against Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro has been trying to bring Christmas to our people, to bring happiness, joy, and hope. Together we are going to guarantee peace for Venezuela.
More than 10 million toys will be distributed across the country as part of the government plan to attend to people and to wish them season's greetings.
Time for the first break of this newscast, but we will have more news after this.
With developing events being presented through analysis, our coverage transcends borders. With renowned journalist Walter Martinez.
Salud, amigos, tripulantes de nuestra querida, contaminada y única nave espacial.
Dossier. Weekdays. Only on Telesur.
Y ponga usted las cámaras, señor director.
Welcome back. The government of Ecuador has issued a warning for coastal towns because of storm surges over the weekend. The alert will remain in place until December 26 in the provinces of Esmeraldas, Manabí, and El Oro. While no casualties or injuries have been reported, the surges heavily damaged homes and infrastructure along the coast. Female artists in Argentina have launched a campaign that can be translated loosely at "Look How Furious We Turn" to give visibility to the case of the sexual harassment of a young actress that has shocked the country.
After 10 years in silence, the Argentinian actress Thelma Fardín held a press conference together with fellow Argentinian actresses and the Actors Association to report that she was sexually abused by the actor Juan D'Artes when she was 16 years old during an artistic tour of the kids' program called Ugly Duckling, in which they worked together.
When she told us that she was going to do and that she had decided to revisit what happened 10 years ago, I thought it was admirable. The Actors' Labour's Union gave her all the tools at their disposal, and they made the decision to suspend us until the courts make the decision. We are all supporting her.
The Actors Association warned that D'Artes fled to Brazil to prevent his extradition. Thelma's case is now in hands of the Nicaraguan justice system as the abuse took place in the Central American country.
It took more than 30 years before I could talk. The reason it takes time to talk is related to our society. The way we construct society, creating a patriarchy and a culture of fear. In this system, the victim is the aggressor.
Taking the phrase that Juan D'Artes used before raping Thelma, "Look how you turn me on," Argentinian actresses stand before him, answering to the movement, "Look how furious we turn."
Mira cómo nos ponemos.
Mira cómo nos ponemos. Mira cómo nos ponemos.
Mira cómo nos ponemos.
Mira cómo nos ponemos. Cómo nos ponemos. Mira cómo nos ponemos.
Actresses stressed the importance of the impact that reporting has had in the country. According to Susana Varela, it has been a tsunami shaking the whole society.
Vecinas mías.
People with whom I'd never talked about this issue, like my neighbours, suddenly started asking me about it and telling me they also suffered it. 90 years old grandmas said to me, "We are still processing the movement, we'll see where it can lead."
Estamos todavía como procesando.
The feminist revolution is progressing slowly, but constantly achieving more for women's rights.
We are still fighting. When there is a case of sexual abuse and the victim arrives at the hospital, they do not get everything they need at that moment. There is a protocol, but it is not being applied. We need to make sure it is, especially so the victim has immediate access to psychological care.
In the 2019 budget, the Argentinian government cut areas devoted to creating policy to reduce violence against women, but the feminist movement will keep fighting to achieve equal rights.
The Inter-American Court of Human Rights has found the Mexican state guilty of sexual violence, rape and torture against 11 women in what has become known as the Tenco case, a Tenco case actually. The events occurred in 2006 when municipal, state and federal police violently repressed demonstrations and arrested the 11 women. During their detention, they were sexually assaulted and tortured. The court ordered the state of Mexico to financially compensate the victims and their families. Ancestral authorities in Guatemala have recognized the work of a group of midwives by handing them a cane that symbolizes their knowledge and service delivering babies within their communities. But they're still looking for recognition from the official health system.
The midwives of the indigenous community of Los Copones in the municipality of Ixcan have received their authority canes, which recognize their voluntary work in their communities.
This is a symbol of authority because the midwives don't ask for this job. They were born with that wisdom, with those ancestral practices, and it is a great reason to respect and value their work.
Recognition is handed over by the Great Council of Ancestral Authorities of the indigenous communities of Los Copones, which works under the system of legal pluralism.
We form part of the indigenous authorities, which belong to the Mayan people. This is where we live, where we serve our people. It is time for the government to recognize our work.
The midwives consider this recognition as a legal tool to legalize their work before the health ministry.
It is like a symbol that identifies us and encourages us indigenous midwives. It's like this official card handed TP us by the health ministry.
The midwives say they face racism and discrimination inside the health system, which intends to remove them from this ancestral practice.
The health system wants to get rid of us, but we join together to fight and to ask the government to support us. There are a lot of us who want to fight for our cause.
The midwives' movement demands that the Congress discuss a law for the legalization of their work, which has been rejected by the executive power. In 2017, President Jimmy Morales overruled a decree which sought to legalize the work of the indigenous midwives across the country.
Santiago Botón, Telesur, norte de Guatemala.
The Venezuelan foreign minister has reported that 2 vessels hired by the U.S. oil company ExxonMobil illegally entered Venezuelan waters off the coast of Guyana. Minister Jorge Arias said the vessels entered waters inside the Orinoco Delta within Venezuela's territorial control. The captains of the vessels say they had a Guyanese license authorizing them to use that particular route. Guyana has announced it will report the interception to the United Nations. The National Assembly in Cuba has approved the text for a new constitution. Citizens are set to vote in a referendum in February to confirm those amendments.
It's a milestone in Cuban national life. The Cuban National Assembly has approved the country's new constitution, which will go to a referendum in February 2019. In accordance with the current constitution, the approval was granted thanks to the vote of the Assembly's legislators.
In contrast to what the enemies of the Cuban Revolution usually say, we have proven that the fundamental decisions for our nation are carried out with a consensus and the voice of the people. I would like to see if they would dare to carry out a similar process in their countries to the one that we are promoting right now.
The Cuban president explained that the new constitution reaffirms the socialist model and the revolution. It is also aimed at improving social justice, equality, and the popular participation in politics.
Obviously, this is an historic milestone. It's impossible to grasp how important it is, and I believe that as time goes by, its importance will grow.
I think it's a great achievement, a modern constitution with a lot of updates that were needed. It's one of the best constitutions in the world right now.
I believe the proposals made by the people have been very important for the document. The Constitution, along with our labor code, is a key tool to reaffirm the central role that the working class has in Cuba in the defense of our revolution.
The Cuban head of state thanked the people for their proposals to improve the document. He explained that these proposals helped make for a better constitution.
The draft was modified and discussed in the Assembly, and now it will have to be approved by the people. We wonder which other governments in the world put such an important document as the Constitution into the hands of its citizens.
I think it shows all the complexity and diversity of the country. It has popular support, as hundreds of local assemblies presented thousands of proposals. All of them have been taken into account.
Each article is for the people. The Constitution is our homeland, the Constitution is Cuba. What we are doing is Cuba. That's why we have to defend the whole Constitution and each of its articles.
President Miguel Díaz-Canel recalled that in 2019, 124 years after Cubans started their fight for independence, the people will go to the polls to approve the new constitution. It is expected that Cubans will say yes to the revolution, sovereignty, unity, and socialism.
In Jamaica, a disabled man is the male winner of the 5th annual Grace Kennedy Heather Littlewhite Household Worker Awards. 53-year-old Michael Brown lost his left hand in a fight 20 years ago. Despite his disability, he went on to pursue his passion for farming and now works as a property caretaker and handyman for a family. He admits that simple tasks can take their toll, but he'll never stop trying. Prime Minister Andrew Holness tweeted his congratulations to Mr. Brown for his achievement. And staying with news from Jamaica, on Friday, Prime Minister Holness announced to citizens that the categories of workers who qualify for free movement under the CARICOM single market has increased. Prime Minister Andrew Holness said that these workers will join university graduates, media workers and artists in the categories of workers who qualify for free movement throughout CARICOM. He says his government has fostered a policy of smart engagement to improve the lives of skilled Jamaicans. Once finalized, security guards, farm workers, beauticians and barbers will also be able to travel freely within the Caribbean.
The foreign policy strategy that we have used is one of engagement, smart engagement, but leverage as well. We have managed to increase the number of skilled areas in which Jamaicans can travel. So now, once we have finalized it, Jamaicans will be able to travel as security guards. And that is a big demand in many regions where they are already at full employment. Jamaicans will also be able to travel as farm workers within CARICOM.
Time for another short break. Stay with us.